Hey, welcome everybody. It's No Driving Gloves. We're off a pretty good episode with Tony Watley last week. I think it's inspired the co-hosts a little bit, and we're just going to kind of shotgun episode it tonight. No one set topic. We're going to see what sticks to the board tonight. How are you guys doing?
Man, just trying to stay warm and kicking like a pack of ninjas.
Yeah, I guess what Will said. Yeah. No, I'm doing good. Doing good. Just working.
Well, I'm going to open with my opening volley and complaint. I've noticed with this recent time change, a lot of people bought new cars over the summer with damn daytime running lights. How about you learn to turn your damn headlights on? I'm tired of driving home at 4:30 or going to work at 6 in the morning, following these idiots that have their daytime running lights on and no taillights, so I come up on them at 90 miles an hour and, all of a sudden there's a kind of a car there. Or you expect me to see you when you do a lane change or whatever. Let's just learn to use our headlights and read an owner's manual. Either one of you have this driving, or is this just a new level of idiocracy in Birmingham?
I think you're just a butthole, John. You just need to chill, man.
I think you said you said that too.
I was going to say, you know what? Why don't you people that drive 90 mile an hour learn to slow down and not come flying up on those of us that don't turn our taillights on?
Mr. 2012 pickup, I know you probably do have that problem.
Being that when I leave the house, I take both of my daughters to school every morning. They go to the same school, but they're in the schools aren't connected. So, they're about a mile and a half apart.
That makes them two different schools.
It's the same school. One's just a high school, one's just elementary school. They're not on the same campus.
That makes it two different schools.
No, it's the same school because it's Hoax Bluff.
It's the same school system.
One's elementary one.
Really funny because we established like a week or 2 weeks ago Hoax Bluff only has like one graduate.
Well, yeah, hopefully that'll be my daughter in 4 years, right?
Well, you took credit for it.
Well, see, but this says a lot because clearly they can't in there to tell if it's one or two buildings, one or two different schools,
Yeah, whatever. That may be the way y'all done it up north, but that ain't how we do it in the South. Anyway,
that's the way a damn Yankee counts.
That's right, damn Yankee. Being that I have less than a 5-mile commute from my house, dropping both girls off and back to the shop, it's really not that much of an issue for me.
Okay, maybe that's just a little isolated on my end, but that's just kind of.
You are in Birmingham as well. I read today that Sam Foose passed away this morning.
That would be Chip's father, correct?
Yep, that's Chip's dad. Just an icon and a legend in the hot rod industry. He's been around for a long, long time and was doing really cool stuff even before Chip was born. And Chip just kind of took the God-given gift that his dad gave him and just kind of took it to the next level. And it sucks to see somebody like that pass on.
And he had a few years in there, and he had some, cool builds, and obviously some of what he had trickled down to Chip. And like you said, Chip took it to a new level. Heard some interesting stories about Chip's early days when he was with Boyd, and it's amazing the number of people that came out of Boyd's shop. And, we lost Boyd a few years back, and it seems that a lot of these icons that unfortunately created the reality TV that we have today keep slipping away, and we're got to enjoy their work while they're here, and I guess take nothing for granted. I didn't mention on the podcast, I lost my grandfather about a week and a half ago. And he's kind of what got me into working with my hands. My great-grandparents were tool and die makers for International Harvester and John Deere, respectively. And while my grandfather took the office route and did accounts payable for International Harvester for many years up until they shut down in 1983, he's the one who taught me my woodworking, and somehow the family goes through that. And I kind of learned of his passing as I was driving by the storage location where that 62 Chrysler is that I refer to every now and then. And it had been an interesting week, but it really does teach you to enjoy them while we got them. I always enjoyed the interviews with Chip and Sam and seeing where people came from.
And I think it's an interesting time for people of our generation, the age range that you and Will and I represent, John, because right now in the car world, as a whole, even, we're seeing some of these legendary builders passing. We're seeing some extremely well passing, and collections are going up for auction. And there's really kind of a shift happening to the next in the car hobby and in the car building industry, but also hobby, on kind of what is the collecting hobby going to look like as this generation passes and the next one takes over. I just learned of the passing of a large car collector in the Midwest. I think he passed away about a month and a half ago, and one of the large brass era collections, and questions about where are those cars going to wind up, and especially with brass era market the way it is, things like that. So it's definitely as we lose some of these people that had so much knowledge that is hopefully being passed down.
It's just one of those things. It's hard to believe, and we need to take advantage. I've got a friend who's been in the Lotus community since the late 50s, and everybody encourages him. You need to write down these stories. You need to tell these stories. You need to maybe write a book. And he just, he's such a humble guy. He just, they're just part of my life. They're nothing important. But when he's gone, we're going to lose a lot of firsthand accounts. Another automotive passing from either earlier this year or late last year was Ron Hickman. And he was a Lotus designer, and of course that's how I know him. But he also developed the Black & Decker Workmate. Excuse me. It's just one of those weird little things, the little notes and stuff. I was able to pick up a collection of his books where he went through and did his own edits and pencil markings and that, and the remainder of his collection was just donated to a museum in England, one of their national archives, just because he's such an influencer. And we've got all these icons that are slipping and passing, and it's great. Some of them have written books. I recently learned, Lee Iacocca's close to the end. He's in his early 90s and is having severe Parkinson's issues. And well, we're making this a year-end wrap-up, I guess. I think we could talk about a lot of the automotive people that have passed this year, but we've kind of always avoided those topics on the show.
Not only are we losing people, but we're still losing more and more that are being produced in the world. So it's an interesting time all the way around in the auto industry, I think.
Yeah, I think you're alluding to, let's see here. Volkswagen killed off the Beetle this year. That's last year for the Beetle. There's a couple other big cars that are kind of slipping away from us.
The Dodge Viper?
The Viper, passed a year or two ago, but yeah.
A year ago.
We lost that one. Let's see here. I'll say we're going to lose the front engine Corvette eventually here, it sounds like. Other than, let's see, what am I thinking?
What? 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 What are you talking about, John? What?
We're losing the American sedans. I mean, Ford killed off their entire car line. I mean, people know I have my SHO, and that car is no more after somewhere in the 2019 model year. Ford's really not giving drop dead dates on these, but the only thing they're keeping around is the Mustang and the Ford GT. And of course, we've had photos of the four-door Mustang, and just this week, or I guess last week when you're listening to this podcast, General Motors, without saying it, killed their entire car line with the announcement of, unfortunately, somewhere between 10 and 15,000 jobs being lost and 5 or 6 plants potentially being shut down between factories and engine assembly plants. And it's just kind of a new world out there in the automotive landscape. Still not sure, I don't understand these American companies just conceding the sedans to the imports. I mean, Ford and Chevrolet are saying, we can't sell cars, and Honda and Toyota go, oh yeah, we only sell 2 million Accords and Camrys every year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need to look at some customer satisfaction surveys and maybe build what the people want. Kind of my statement on that. How do you guys feel with this abandonment of the automotive landscape of American sedans?
I had a long discussion actually with my wife about this because actually her home is basically Lordstown, Ohio, which is where the Chevy Cruze is made. It's being one of the plants that's being idled early next year, and actually she has family out of there actually just last year, early this year. So kind of fortunate that they retired out before all this happened. Toyota makes so many cars and Honda and all these and GM and Ford are conceding and part of it, but I don't think that truly is the biggest factor here. And I think one of the big things here is I think we've talked about it on the show a little bit before. We've really got to look at the fact that in 25, 30 years, the automobile industry and the automobile landscape, the automotive landscape that we are familiar with in all generations before us is not even going to be close to the same. Autonomous vehicles are going to be taking over. There's going to be push to different green technologies and all of the things that are we're on the precipice of. I think Ford and GM are more concerned right now, not necessarily that they're conceding to the foreign import market of these cars coming over, but rather, they're trying to get a jump on the technology that lies ahead so they aren't left behind as past. We can look back at the past and look at the birth of the import market, the mistakes that the automobile industry made post gas crisis of the 1970s, building behemoth land yachts of the 1980s, and the import market to even take off the way it did. I think that's a bigger factor in this in some ways, is that we automobile industry haven't quite prepared ourselves yet, and this is the hard realization moment of we got to shift gears, got to be ready for the future. I mean, that's what I'm seeing in it.
Do you think that I don't really know where to go from here. They're putting a lot of tariffs on stuff coming from overseas. Now, I am 100% made in America guy. If I got to spend more to buy something that's made in America, that's what I'm going to do, personally and through my business. So I don't want to really get this taken out of context. Back in the day when all of this, production jobs were created, corporate America was taking advantage of the workers. So therefore the union was created to, honest days work for honest days pay, so to speak. Now it's almost like the union's taking advantage of that situation, and these factory workers are making a really, really, really good living. And not saying that it's an easy job or anything like that, but ultimately that's one of the things that have really driven the price up on American-made automobiles. And, yeah, I mean, if I'm going to go buy a four-door sedan, I'm going to want to buy an American-owned company's vehicle, whether it's made in the United States or not, which, a lot of them are. They're at least assembled in the United States. That could be leading to part of this problem too is, when an Impala costs as much as a Tahoe, which I'm not sure if they do. I don't really keep up with that a whole lot. You're going to go buy a Tahoe. Most people are. I don't own a sedan right now. I hadn't owned one in several years. But just, kind of thinking about it from another direction. And, nowadays I hate to complain about the union because I grew up, my dad was part of the union and, I grew up with union dollars. So, but it's almost now it's like they're fighting for people's jobs that they shouldn't be fighting for their job for. And, so they're getting paid a really, really good salary to go in there and do nothing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the consumer is the one that has to absorb that cost.
I grew up in a Caterpillar town, union and non-union, and had friends on both sides of the fence. So I've played both areas of that, and I always prefer to buy American, and I like seeing the jobs and stuff here. It's an interesting world, and I don't think we can necessarily blame unions or the factory workers, especially in the General Motors case or even the Ford case. It goes back to my question: why can the Accord and Camry sell so well, and the Taurus and the Impala can't, or the Fusion and the Impala can't sell that well?
Well, that's true. I mean, I'm sorry to butt in because we know the Honda Accord's made. I mean, it's made in Alabama. It's a non-union plant. Those guys make good money that work there, but Honda don't take no crap either. If you're not doing your job, they'll tell you to leave right then.
The Camry's also American made. I believe it's made in California, and Civics are made in Ohio. And years ago when I had my Ram, and I got rid of a Nissan, and I lived in Kansas at the time, people go, "Oh, it's good to see you got an American truck." Well, the Nissan was made in Indiana, and the Ram was made in Mexico.
Yep, there you go.
But it's not that. Mm-hmm. I think some of the fault lies to the executives and the white collar people in these automotive companies that they can't, again, make a car that we want. And we've talked about it before. Americans were so excited. American car people, the General Motors said, we're bringing the GTO back. We're going to bring the Holden, up from Australia, and we're going to sell that. We're going to have a high-performance V8 sedan that seats 4. And then all of a sudden we got the GTO, which was toned down and, we need cup holders and we need heated seats. And no. And all of a sudden General Motors goes, well, why didn't this car sell? And it gets a 4-year model run and goes away. It's because you didn't bring what you promised us we want. Look at Porsche. Mm-hmm. Porsche will sell you a car with whatever you want, and they make the 911 in 18 different ways. And you can get it without a radio, as light as you want, or you can get the thing with, it'll coddle you and pamper you. And I think you can get a 911 Turbo S that rides as nice as a Lincoln Continental, or even the GT3 Touring. Why do we need a GT3 Touring? Well, because people will pay for it, and there's a lot of money in that. But the American manufacturers, you go in, you order a car, and you get 5 option packages, I want rear window defrost, but I don't want heated mirrors or something. Or take my van, for instance. I didn't want rear glass in it, but I wanted side glass. But to get side glass, I had to get rear glass. It doesn't make sense. Give me these individual things. Lee Iacocca, that was part of his saving grace on Chrysler. He didn't stock the dealerships with a bunch of cars nobody wanted. You had to order, and you had to wait 4 or 6 weeks back in 1983, 84 to get a car. You went in and you ordered exactly what you wanted, and a few weeks later, you got the car you wanted. And, yeah, it's a little bit expensive, and you might lose some sales, but you are giving the American public what they want, and it worked, and it saved Chrysler. And by the end of that decade...
Now, if I butt in, John, didn't Chrysler just try that again? And I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look it up to know all the details. Maybe you do. But wasn't there an attempt to do that with the new, was it the Dodge Dart, when you could go in and order it and the way you wanted it? Was that the Dart?
I don't recall that. Recently I know that, they came out with a color palette for the Viper, and there were, 80,000 colors or anything you could dream of. They'll paint your Viper that color. I don't remember that 100% on the Dart, but maybe it did exist. But that's only one car, and you're trying to, again, retrain the buying habit of the public with one car that, wasn't a fabulous car to begin with.
Yeah,
but
true,
I think if
true.
you did that with all of a sudden the Challenger line or the Charger line, I think you would have a fairly successful run. I mean, yeah, you could go ahead and throw some, 6 cylinders on the lot and then, a Hellcat or two. But that's kind of the cool thing with the Hellcats and the Scat Pack cars and that. You can get them a little bit tailored your way, but you still have to buy your options by the package as opposed to the each. And yeah, there's economics in that, but it's not what I think. That's not what car people want. And I think the marketing teams lose that. People like you and Will and me and the 8,000 other podcasters out there that talk about cars, or the car people are who sell cars, because I can't tell you the number of people who ask me every week, oh, I'm thinking of getting a new car. What would you get? Well, what are you looking for? And yeah, everybody's looking for a white refrigerator, so you want to buy a Camry or an Accord. I'm sorry, I'm a car guy. I'm going to recommend that to you. But if you want something performance exactly the way you want, I want something lightweight, I don't need a radio in it, I want it a little bit noisy. Again, I'm sending you to a foreign European manufacturer because the Americans can't do it or won't do it. Did we go down a bad road there?
And no. I think that we would also see if that. I think we might also see longevity in models again. In some ways. Think about it. One of the biggest things will tie this back to the collector car community, and I even see it in the Corvette, even with modern Corvettes. Everybody wants to track down the history on their car and made like it. So, you can, as long as documentation was kept by the factory or, somewhere that are reels from the factory, people are, when these cars get old enough, they start getting collected and carry that brand loyalty in a way. But they also get so embedded in it, in the fact that, well, like my GTO, the owner 74 Pontiac GTO that I owned, the owner before I had it, had gotten all the Pontiac Historical Society document. And in reading through it, we had determined that it was one of 687 produced with the exact package on it. So we were able to kind of tell that. And of course, that's because that was in the day where you could walk into the dealership and say, hey, I want to order a brand new 1974, but, I want it to be the baseline Ventura, and then I want to add the custom package, and then I want to add the GTO package. Sure, it's a hatchback with a 4-speed transmission. You could pick everything you wanted. And I think that makes those cars, because people start getting interested in, oh, I have one of 200 built this way. And I'll tell you, in the Corvette world, the Library and Archive, the Corvette Museum, we maintain the build sheets from the Bowling Green plant. And we get research requests regularly on 4 or 5-year-old Corvettes of, can you guys tell me how many were made exactly the way mine was built? And sometimes we can prove that it's one of one or built with that option package. And people love that. They grab onto that. And that's one of the things that, as you say, John, Americans kind of want to do with our cars. We want to make them the way we want them. We don't want to just buy a cookie cutter car and go drive it around. Okay, at least some of us don't want to buy a cookie cutter car. I know there's a large majority of Americans out there that probably don't care. But as you say, John, for the car guys who are actually going to go cars and brag about the car, that's what we want.
Well, I think you're right there. And there are the people that want the cookie cutter cars, and they're going to buy the cookie cutter cars, which are low profit. But the car people will spend the money. Porsche proves it, every year with their varying models. And, Corvette does a nice job of that. And I had a friend with a Challenger. Chrysler will do that with the, build sheets, and they'll let you know. And he was very happy. He had one of 4 of, I think, a 2010 or 2012 Challenger, with his options. And he, when he'd go to shows, he'd show it that way. He's now a Hellcat owner, and I don't know, but I'm sure he's given them their extra $50 or $75 for that build sheet. Many years ago, I read the book All Corvettes Are Red, and in that book, they talked about Corvette going to a marketing plan very similar to Porsche's, and possibly spinning the Corvette off into its own nameplate, which of course makes Chevrolet dealers all upset, but I really don't think it's a bad idea. And I think in recent months, in the last 12, 18 months, I think we see that kind of happening. Especially with the C7 era Corvettes. Maybe we can go back to 2014 or 16 when that came out. It was, you can get a base Z51 Corvette, or you can spend a little bit more and, get a Z06, or spend a little bit more and get a King of the Hill ZR1. And then there's dozens of options available, and dozens of colors, and different suspensions and brakes and tires, and all of these little things. And options are where the profit's at in cars. Yes, I understand SUVs. You buy, a Suburban, General Motors makes $14,000 profit on it. No, even after you've saved your $15,000. But that's the problem with the Impalas, and that is we want an Impala SS that is a fun car that reminds us of the 96 Impala SS or the 64 Impala SS, and goes fast and has the option packages we want. And the Corvette does a nice job, and now we're going to see I believe it's official, maybe it came out today, the, mid-engine Corvette. So now there's 4 cars in the Corvette lineup to give you exactly what you want and how much money you want to spend. Do you want to spend $60,000? Do you want to spend $80,000? Do you want to spend $100,000? Do you want to spend $120,000? Or do you want to spend $180,000? We've got a car for you. The top goes down, the top comes off, the top stays on. It's its own line. It's very reminiscent of what Porsche did with the 911. In the 911, it's its own money-making machine. It prints money. And I love seeing that about the Corvette. And I would love to see more cars produced that way. And, how many Corvettes do they sell per year? Maybe you know that number, Derek. They don't make them because they lose money. If that car lost money, General Motors would kill it too. But they're obviously making some money on a car that's very limited production.
Yeah, production varies by year, by order, obviously. But, it's like the ZR, like when they bring out some of the special packages, like I'm trying to remember. I think that's limited to maybe a run of about 3,500 cars. I don't remember exact numbers right off the top of my head, but yes, especially when they bring out, special packages, they usually keep those pretty tight to make it a desired and sought after. Okay,
I just popped up 2016. They sold 40,000 Corvettes. That's a pretty good number, and that's up 6,500. So they sold 34,015. that's still a pretty low number. So the car's got to be making some, making some profit somewhere. I see them every now and then, but Corvettes aren't advertised every weekend with a $10,000 rebate. And, so the guy coming in and buying a Corvette probably already has a Z51 pickup, or what is it, Z71 pickup, or has a Denali, or has a Cadillac or something, or the wife's got an SRX, or what is it, the AT4? I can't remember the Cadillac designations now. Cadillac, follow Ford, and start naming your cars again. Get rid of the stupid letters. Lincoln learned it. Now Cadillac's got to relearn it. That's kind of, I think, I don't know how we really ended up on this topic, but let's build the cars. Let's build the cars the car people want, and then we're going to advertise for your company. I'm going to pull up in my Corvette, and you're going to go, oh, it's a Corvette, blah, blah, blah. And, what else do you drive? Well, I got a, Cadillac something V in my garage. Oh, is that a good car? And maybe the guy I'm talking to is not going to run out and buy a something V, or, in my case, go out and buy an SHO. But I've sold a few Taurus. They might be SELs. I've sold a few Fusion Sports, because you can buy a Fusion Sport for about 10 grand less, and really you've got about the same car with the weight difference that you do with the SHO. Those cars are going away. But I like the F-150, but let's just, I guess I'm going to stop there. Will, you've been quiet.
I want to know what Will has to say. I think he fell asleep.
He's talking, but I'm not hearing him.
Will, unmute your mic.
Hey, how about that?
Yeah, that works a lot better.
Oh, no, I've just been listening, had my feet propped.
Is that actually why you haven't been? You were talking, you just didn't have your mic on?
No, actually not. I've just been listening, had my feet propped up on my cooler, underneath my desk, and taking it all in. I really don't have much to say about it. I mean, it sucks that they're going away, but I can't complain about it too much, because I'm not out buying an Impala or a Charger or, any sedan or a Fusion or SHO or anything. Those cars don't appeal to me. They're not cool. They don't look good.
But look at it this way, Will. Stand up from your desk, walk and open that office door. Everything in your shop is built exactly the way the person wanted it. They're spending a lot of money to do it. Not everybody's got 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand to give you. But they'll, because I can finance it through the bank, I'll give Chrysler $80,000 for exactly what I want.
Well, okay, here you go. Here's a perfect example. Right now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in just the fab shop. Okay. These are the guys that are spending a lot of money at Big Oak Garage. Okay. The guy we're doing the Impala for drives a truck. The guy we're doing the 56 Chevrolet for drives a truck. The guy we're doing the 57 Chevrolet for drives a truck. The guy we're building the Bronco for drives a truck. The guy we're doing the Cadillac for, I don't know what he drives every day, but every time he's come up here, he's been in his big motorhome. So, I mean, these are guys that have money to go buy whatever they want. They could go buy a brand new Impala and have it built exactly the way they wanted it. But what are they driving? They're driving trucks.
Yeah, but they need the trucks to tow what you're building for them.
These guys don't tow their cars anywhere. I do.
Okay, well, 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
Number one, if all the sedans are stop being produced, where are you going to get your parts from modern cars to put into rods,
Okay.
such as like the door handles and things like that you always like to steal from cars and work them into the hot rods you're building.
Yep.
Number two, if there's no sedans being built now, what are hot rodders in the future going to do for cars to hot rod?
Okay.
Then
I don't have one single four-door sedan in my shop. Okay. So to answer the second question first, we're not going to be restoring or hot rodding four-door Impalas. We're not going to be restoring or hot rodding Focuses, SHOs. I just don't see that happening. Now, Mustangs, Corvettes, Camaros, yeah, that's what people want. And that's why the four-door sedans are going away. That's what people want. And to answer the first question is, I'm trying to think of the last time that I used a part off of a four-door sedan car, and that would be the Dart. Okay.
Fusion shifter linkage.
Well, that's the same thing that's in a Dodge truck. Essentially, I could have went and got it off of a Dodge truck or a Cadillac SRX, or I'm sure there's probably a Mustang that has that by now. So that's not the end of the world there. But I'm thinking, well, hey, I'm thinking sedan only, and that was actually on the Dart. We used the Dodge Dart seal plates that come in the new Dodge Dart. They're really cool looking. One of the coolest pieces on the entire car. We used those, and then which this was a two-door. It was a hardtop convertible that Dodge made, Chrysler made.
Sebring.
No, it was newer than that. They were new.
The 200?
The 200. Yeah. The 200 hardtop convertible. The seal that goes on the quarter glass, it was a piece of extruded aluminum with a really nice seal that kind of slid up in there into place. I used that part on the Dart as well. Yeah, it sucks that they're gone. But I mean, they're just not selling. How can you keep something in production if you're not selling it? I mean, why are you going to keep making something if you're not selling it?
And that's kind of my argument. I'm not trying to pile on your harass you there.
No, that's fine.
But
that's fine. I don't mind.
If they would build the car that you could have, I mean, trucks have dozens of options, and your people and your customers drive trucks, but they're building cars. Maybe they'd buy a car if they could get a car tailored the way their truck is.
I think it would be awesome if somebody would go buy a brand new four-door Impala and bring it to me and let me do my thing to it. Dude, I could make a two-door Impala out of that thing and make it super cool. That ain't what the guys are wanting to spend their money on. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that would think that was cool and would be willing to spend the money to do that.
We've all seen West Coast choppers put a old Charger on a new Charger. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to go to somebody like West Coast Customs or
them, not West Coast choppers.
Somebody like that to build that car. Could we do it here? Of course we could do it here. We can modify anything from a brand new car to the first car ever made. It doesn't really matter. I don't know. It's just not what people want. Obviously it's not what I want because I don't even own a sedan right now. I have pickup trucks and SUVs is all I got. I don't know. Derek, what do you drive? I know the answer.
I have a moped.
Yeah. That'll fit in the bed of your Ford truck.
Yes, I do have Yes. I also have a Ford Falcon. I also have a few other things. My wife drives a Subaru Forester.
Well, we're not talking about Subarus and Hondas and,
which is
why don't
SUV. So
okay, well, why don't your wife drive an all-wheel drive Fusion or SHO or something like that?
you want to know why? You want to know the honest reason why? And here's another problem with the American auto industry and not building cars the way the people, because you can't get a stick shift in an American car anymore.
There you go.
Because Christine, I love her, and this is one of the things that I love her for. She will only drive, or the only vehicles she wants to use as a daily driver are stick shifts.
There you go. Perfect example.
I have females in my life the same way. So
can you go buy that SHO that you have, John, in a straight shift?
No, you cannot.
You cannot. Okay, so the SHO that my father owned and my sister owned, I believe it was a '93 with the Yamaha V6 in it. Yeah, it was a straight shift.
The old ones were, but that kind of goes to the whole car buying. I mean, BMW M cars don't come with straight shifts in them anymore.
But can you get a straight shift in it?
No.
So you can't even hardly buy a BMW with a straight shift.
Yeah, the M division used to say they will always be available with a manual transmission, but the new M4 and the new is it the M8 or the M6 is not available with a straight shift transmission anymore. It's kind of a sad day when BMW M division, and I understand the wanting of a manual transmission. My ex-wife loved a manual transmission. Zara wanted a manual transmission in the car she was looking for, and with some discussions, we did elect to go with an automatic in it, but there's some underlying reasons behind that. But believe me, she would love to have a manual transmission car to drive, and she liked that about the Hyundai that I had, is it was a 6-speed. It became a van, which she hates a lot of things about. I can understand what you're saying on that. Of course, I'm a sedan person, but prior to that, I had an Edge Sport, so it was an SUV, and before that, I had a Ford F-150, the 4-door cab with a hard bed liner or bed cover, and I always said that's the new Crown Vic. The Crown Vic went away, and if you wanted a vehicle that seated or sat 6 that had a big trunk, an F-150 with a hard bed cover's the way to go.
I mean, even police officers don't even hardly drive sedans anymore. I mean, General Motors came out with the Impala SS, and the police interceptor in that was absolutely badass. I mean, that car had really good suspension. It had, one of the best engine platforms that's ever been created. And they didn't work, or people didn't buy them. I don't know if they didn't work or people just they didn't catch on in the police community. But the city of Hoax Bluff, they hadn't bought a sedan in years. They're driving Ford F-150s and Ford Explorers. That's what they're driving. City of Gadsden all have Tahoes.
Yeah, Hoover has all Chevrolet products, but they had a falling out with Ford. That's all Tahoes. But I do enjoy, and a matter of fact, I'll post a picture of it when sometime this week when I was going back to Illinois for my grandfather's funeral. We were taking some 2-lanes, and I drove through this little town, and it must be where the Illinois State Police store their brand new cars. It was nothing but Explorers and Taurus Police Interceptors. And it leaned really heavily to the Explorers, and it does make sense.
I was in Decatur the other day. A buddy of mine's shop is right across the street from the main police building, and they had about 15 or 20 brand new Tahoes sitting out there. I mean, they're not using the sedans anymore either. I mean, nobody is.
Yeah,
So
you get a better viewing angle. You've got a bigger vehicle, and I think on a police, if you're in a police chase and you're trying to do a pit maneuver or something, it's safer for the police officer to be in the same thing he's pursuing, which is an SUV. So I'll give you that one. The days of the police car are pretty much past.
yeah, they're gone.
Obviously when General Motors and where this started, and in our miraculous go full circle, when General Motors and Ford in car production, there's no more Impala SS police cars. There's no more Ford SHO police package police cruisers, and they're not going to have a choice but to go with Explorers or Tahoes.
Hemi Chargers.
Yep.
And then I guess Alabama does have those as some police cars. And I see those every now and then. Fortunately, not in my rearview mirror.
Kentucky State Police use them.
I got a good friend of mine that's a police officer, and man, he loved the Crown Vics. Absolutely loved them. And
most cops I know love the Crown Vic.
And when he got bumped out of his Crown Vic into an Explorer, he hated it. Absolutely hated it. And he went from a cop car to a soccer mom car, or vehicle. And man, he does not like it at all. So, but the chief and the investigator here in Oaks Bluff, they got, F-150s. So, I don't know.
So, did we accomplish anything this evening in chatting here? I think Derek and I are obviously on one side of this argument. Will's on another, and that's what makes it great is 3 people, 3 opinions.
I think we solved all the world's problems.
Not all of them, but a good majority of them this evening.
I wouldn't say I'm totally on the opposite side of you guys because I don't want to see them gone. I mean,
yeah, you are.
Maybe y'all think I am, but I don't want to see any, name like the Impala done away with, or the Malibu or whatever they have now. I mean, they need to, I don't know, maybe offer them in a 2-door again, and not all 4-doors. But I mean, here's another thing with the way this is. I have a daughter that's 14 years old, and we've been talking, cars, what she wants, blah 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 blah, and she wants a 4-door car. She does not want a 2-door car. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? I didn't want a 4-door car when I was 14, 15, 16 years old. Drive through a high school parking lot and look how many 2-door vehicles are in the parking lot. Not very, which they don't make a lot anymore, so that's part of the problem too. But I mean, she does not want a 2-door car. There's part of the problem right there too.
She's a 14-year-old girl. She probably has a lot of friends. Am I right?
Yeah, but
a lot of girlfriends. You need a seating room to haul your girlfriends around to do all the things you want to do, and a 4-door car achieves that.
But it's a state law in Alabama. I don't know exactly what it is, but you can only haul siblings with you if you're under 18. I'm pretty sure. So
she's just making what she needs for when she's ready to have her friends riding around.
Well, I was going to kind of conclude today, and I'm looking at this little scroll and thinking about what Will said. Today was the first day of the LA Auto Show, the day we're recording November 28th, 2018. And I'm looking at the list. I was going to bring up the new Jeep pickup. I can't remember what it's called, the Jeep Gladiator. Looks like a Wrangler with a pickup truck bed, which goes right along with what Will was saying. But it got me thinking, okay, let's see here. Lexus introduced a compacted SUV. Dodge introduced Santa's sleigh. Mazda actually introduced a 4-door Mazda 3 kind of car-ish, SUV-ish thing.
I
Mercedes,
think they call those crossovers.
it not quite as big as a crossover, but you could almost call it that. There's a new Honda Pilot that slips between the CRV and the I can't think of the name of their Pilot, their SUV. And then the only cars that really premiered, Mercedes has the new AMG GT Coupe. Bentley's, wow, the Continental GT, still the same damn car they've been selling for 12 years, with some new
Yeah, but it's the size of a truck.
New headlights. I guess Toyota, well, surprise, new Corolla. But that's also now available in a wagon, and so's the Camry, which kind of hints to that SUV crowd. Porsche, of course, has their new lineup and is introducing the new 911. Yeah, Will's kind of right. Everything that's coming is a truck. Not sure I like this new 911. Hyundai had an SUV. Mercedes, a new G-Class. Audi had an electric car. I mean, heck, even the next Tesla that's supposed to come out is supposed to be a truck. So, I don't know. Maybe we should just concede. Derek and I are wrong. Will's right. And the world's going to heck in a truck. Oh, wait. Wait, here's the new Corvette ZR1. So that's a car, too. Did we really solve the world problems, or should...
I just want to say for Will, I don't think the Impala name is going to go away, but when they finally bring out autonomous pod vehicles, is the M, and it'll be known as the iPala. You know?
Oh, Lord. Wow.
Well, with that, I'm going to conclude the show. I'm going to let all the listeners know that we're kind of going to do a Christmas schedule, but we'll have episodes out on the 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 31st. We'll not have an episode on Christmas Eve. There's no sense in you listening to the three of us during your Christmas celebrations. If so, go back and listen to one of our classic episodes. But we're only going to take the 1 week off for Christmas. Who knows what hosts you'll get throughout the next month. But with that, maybe we didn't come to a conclusion tonight. So I'm out of here.
I win.
See you guys later.